chuck diameter less than 6 inches. So we just look at tree trunk diameter and we look at less than 6 inches, and it's this. So that's about 5 out of the total. Well, it says the data for 95 of these trees is summarized in the histogram, so it's 5 out of 95, which is approximately 5.3%. Okay, question 15. Okay, so for uh, question 15, which of the following is a possible value for the median truck diameter in inches of these trees? Well, basically, we just have to find the middle number. So we just take this 5 and this 5. So we did whatever we take from the left, we take from the right. This 5, this 5, this 5, this 5. And this is 4, so this would be 4. So the median truck length is between 18 to 24. So whichever one of these answer choices is between 18 to 24. So the correct answer would be answer choice C. Basically, we just have to find what is the middle number in this data set. For question 16. Okay, so for question 16, it says there's a total of 114,705 votes. The ratio of votes for the first candidate to the second candidate is 4-1. So that means that the first candidate received 4 times the number of votes of the second candidate. And then for the first and third candidate, the first candidate received about 10 times more votes than the third candidate. So it says based on this information, we're just closest to the number of votes. And so we know that the first candidate received a majority of the votes. They received 4 times the second candidate and 10 times the third candidate. So we know that he had to have received at least half of the votes. So it can't be A and B. And it also can't be D because that would mean he received almost all of the votes. 14,601 means that the other candidates only received a total of 100 votes, which is far too low to meet this condition of 4-1. So the correct answer has to be answer choice C, just based off of the information we were given. Okay, question 17. Someone said, please explain how it's not B. Well, um, so for this one, right? Um, okay, so the reason why this is not B is because we know that the first candidate received 4 times the amount of votes as the second candidate. So, and we also know that they received 10 times the amount of the third candidate. That means that they had to have received at least half of the vote, right? Just based on that information. That's kind of why we know it's not B, because half of the votes would be about 7,000. And so if the first candidate only received about 3,676 votes, well, then that would mean the second candidate received a fourth of that. And the third candidate received about a tenth of that. And so when you add up all those three numbers, you wouldn't reach 14,705. You can also test it that way by just doing, uh, taking the answer choice and then dividing it by 4, and then um, dividing it by 0.13, and then adding all those three numbers together and seeing if the total is equal to 14,705. You can also do it that way. Okay, question 17.
Kushi, your question is not visible. It's the control panel.
Okay, so for question 17, it says he started at a constant speed s, and then after the first mile, he increased the speed by 100%. Well, I mean, s, I mean, you start at 100%, so plus 100% would be 200%. So this would just be 2s. He basically doubled his speed. So the correct answer is answer choice D. Okay, question 18.
There's some question in the chat.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so for question 18, it says which of the following dot plots represents the data set with the greatest standard deviation. So standard deviation just means like the average variance or distance each data set point is from the mean. So first we just have to find the mean. This would be like about here, about like here, about here, and then like about here. And so now that we found the mean, we just have to find out which data set has the largest variance or the furthest data points from that mean. So this one, it's about like 2 or so. This one's about 1. This one's about like 1.5. And this one is quite a bit larger at around like 4. So the correct answer here would be answer is D. It has values which are the furthest away from the mean. Okay, question 19. Okay, so question 19, we're told a representative surveyed a random sample of 50 students from the 250 total. So the sample size is 50. And we're told that 62% of the students agree that driving practice time should be increased. So this conclusion is based on the sample. So that means 62% of the sample believed driving practice time should be increased. So it says, based on the results of the survey, how many of the students surveyed? So this means surveyed means to refer to the sample. Agree with the proposed changes. So we know the sample size is 50, and we know that 62% of them agree. And so based on that, we just have to do 50 times 0.62, which gets us about 31. Correct answer is choice B. We have a sample size of 50. We're told 62% of them believe that. So the correct, that would mean that 31 of them would believe that. Question 20.
There's some question in the chat.
Yeah, the margin of error didn't affect. The margin of error isn't important for either of these questions. Okay, so for question 20, which of the following populations can the result of the survey be extended to? Well, the results of any experiment or survey can be generalized to where you pulled the sample from. And so in this case, we pulled the sample from the driver's education class at Jefferson High School. So that is the only thing we can generalize the sample to. So students at any high school, well, for us to do this, we would have to pull a random sample of students from a US high school, which we didn't do. This would basically mean we would have to sample some students in most high schools. Students taking a driver education class at any US high school, no, we specifically went to Jefferson High School. We don't know about the rest of the US high schools. Students at Jefferson High School, well, this specifically says the driver's education class at Jefferson High School. So not necessarily. So the correct answer is answer is D, students taking a driver education class at Jefferson High School. Usually this answer will always be here, where right after the sample, where it tells you where it got the sample from. So in this case, it was a driver's education class at Jefferson High School. If this said something like 50 of like 1,000 students at X school district, well, then you could generalize it to X school district. If it said something else, well, then that's whatever you can generalize it to. Okay, question 21. Okay, so for a quadratic equation to have exactly one distinct real solution. Okay, so for a quadratic equation to have exactly one distinct real solution, it has to be in the form x plus or minus some constant value squared. It always has to be in this form. And so for x plus this constant squared, it would just be x plus 2c plus c squared. And if it's minus c, then it would just be x minus 2c plus c squared again, because negative c times negative c is positive c squared. And so these are the two forms it can be. It says which quadratic equation has exactly one distinct real solution, or we just have to go through these. So for this, we have all of these, we have positive or negative 16. So that means c squared is 16. Well, first of all, we can't actually even get negative 16. So we know that the answer can't be B or C, because say if we have x minus c times x minus c, well, negative c times negative c is just positive c always, and positive c times positive c is still positive c. So we can't ever get minus 16. So based off of that, we know it can't be B or C. And so from A and D, we just have to find the square root of 16, which is 4. So that means C is equal to 4. So the constant is 4. So plus 2c, so this would be plus 8, but this is plus 4, so we can't have plus 4, so that can't be right. And then 4 times negative 2 is going to be negative 8. that is correct. So x squared minus 8x plus 16. So the correct answer is answer choice D. Question 22. Okay, so for question 22, well, it just gives us the equation. 2x plus 4y equals 100. So we just need to find out which graph matches that. So the easiest way to do this is to just substitute 0 in for x or y to find the two intercepts, because all of these graphs have different intercepts. So if we plug in 0 for x, we get 2 times 0 plus 4y equals 100. So when x, so that should just be 4y equals 100, which would mean y is equal to 25. So when x is 0, y is 25. So which graph matches that? Well, this one's 0, 50. This one's 0, 100. This one's 0, 50. This one's 0, 25. And then, well, I mean, we already found the answer, but we could also do the same thing for the other intercept. So we just plug in y equals 0 and we just get 2x equals 100. So x is equal to 50. So yeah, that is correct. So for all these questions where they give you an equation and graphs, you really just need to plug in. Okay, question 23. Okay, so for question 23, we're told we have a rectangle and a triangle, and we're asked for areas. So first we have a rectangle. It's not a good rectangle, but it's a rectangle. Has a length of 12 and a width of 2.5. So the area of this would be just the length times the width, which is 12 times 2.5, which is 30. So the area of this is 30. And then we're also told we have a right triangle Y, which also has a base of 10. And we're asked to find the height in centimeters of right triangle Y if we're given that the area of rectangle X is 3 times the area of right triangle Y. Well, if this is 3 times the area of the right triangle, that means the area of this triangle is 10. So this area is 10. So to find the area of a triangle, we just have to take the length times the width divided by 2, because this is just basically just like a rectangle, but half of it. So we have a length of, or what is it? A base of 10. So we have a length of 10 times the width divided by 2. That's 5 times the width is equal to the total area, which is 10. So the width would have to be 10 over 5, so the width is equal to 2. So the correct answer is answer choice B. Question 24. So someone said, I thought the base is 10. How's it the area? So we got the area from this part right here. So we're told that rectangle X has a length of 12 and a width of 2.5. So we know that we can get the area from that by just doing length times width. So that would just be 12 times 2.5, which is 30. And we know that right triangle has a base of 10. And the area of rectangle X, so the area of this, which is 30, is 3 times the area of the right triangle. So we just take the area of this and we divide by 3 to get the area of the right triangle, which is also 10. That's how we find the area of the right triangle. And then using that, we can use the area formula for a triangle to work backwards to find the missing side length. Okay, question 24. Okay, so for question 24, we know that there are five known subspecies of tigers. So that means at minimum, each species has to have at least one tiger. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a known subspecies, it would be extinct. So we know that at minimum, there's one of each tiger. And we know that there's 4,000 total. And of these, 450 are Amur tigers. So we know that 450 are Amur tigers, and we need to find X is Bengal tigers. Which of the following represents all the possible numbers of tigers in the world that in 2008 that belong to the Bengal tiger subspecies? Well, we know that out of the five total known subspecies of tigers, we know that one is Amur, which is already included in this figure. We know that one is Bengal, which would be included in X. And we know that there are three others. So we'll just do 450 plus 3, which is 453. So at minimum, there are 453 other tigers than Bengal tigers. So that means that the maximum possible value would be 4,000 minus 453, which is 3,547. So that means that X, or the number of Bengal tigers, has to be less than or equals to this value. It cannot be 4,000 because if there are 4,000 Bengal species, then you can't have 450 Amur tigers because the total is only 4,000. So we know that it can't be answer choice D. And for answer choice B and A, we have a similar problem where there has to be at least one tiger for the other three subspecies. And we know that 450 are Amur tigers. So that would mean that the maximum possible value for X would be 3,547. So the correct answer is answer choice C, where we have between 1 and 3,547 Bengal tigers. Okay, question 25. Okay, so for question 25, which of the following additional pieces of information provides enough information to prove whether triangle DEF is a right triangle? Well, to prove DEF is a right triangle, we can either use Pythagorean theorem or the right triangle, whatever thing, which is 3 squared plus whatever this side length is squared equals 5 squared. This is the formula for a right triangle. And so if you know your right triangle identities, you know that this is probably 4. But so using the measure of angle D, we can use this and we can prove it using 3 squared plus whatever DF is squared plus equals 5 squared, because then that would mean this has to be a right triangle. And sorry, that was number 2. And then for number 1, the measure of angle D, well, if they tell us that the measure of angle D is 90, well, then that's enough information to prove that it's a right triangle. So the correct answer is C, either 1 or 2. Because if we're told the measure of angle D, if we're told it's 90, we know it's a right triangle. And for segment DF, well, if we know the lengths of the 3 side of the triangle, we can just prove it using a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So either of those pieces of information can be used to prove it's a right triangle. Okay, question 26. Okay, so for question 26, if 100 people see a sequence of 3 letters, 87 of them will recall this sequence immediately after seeing that. So that means for any exponential function, we have a base of x, and then we have the ratio, and then we have time. In this case, we just don't change time. So our base in this case is 87 of them. That is the initial value. So 87. The ratio is decreased by 14%. So we have 100% minus 14%. If this was something like increased by 14%, then we'd do plus. So 100% minus 14% is 86%. So this would be 86% is the same thing as 0.86. So 0.86 is our ratio, and we still have time. So 87 times 0.86 to the power of time is answer choice C. Okay, question 27. Okay, so for question 27, for a system to have no solution, you have to basically get, well, for a system to have no solution, you have to have like something like x plus y equals some constant and x plus y equals another constant. Let's call this constant 1 and constant 2. So we need to find an equation that matches this, but equals a different constant. So for A, we could just multiply the entire thing by -1. So that would just be negative 6x plus 7y equals 0. Negative 6x plus 7y equals -6. So this equals two different constant values. So the correct answer is A. But let's just go through the others. For answer choice D, we have negative 6x plus 7y equals -6. This just means we multiply both sides by -1, and that is the same equations. This would be all real solutions. And then I could do the same thing for B and C, but we're kind of out of time now. But the correct answer is answer is A.
Okay, we'll continue with the next questions in the next session. Thank you everybody for joining us. We'll see you again next week. Pushi, if you have some issues with your microphone, you can stay and we can have a look at it.